summer equipment.
Yeah. Good evening. I'd like to call this evening's special meeting of the Westerville Board of Education to order. I want to thank you for coming tonight, the day after Memorial Day when the sun is shining and it's beautiful outside. As you will not see the agenda displayed on the screens tonight. Ordinarily, the agenda would be up on the screens for you to see, but we are doing some internet work in the district right now, so we are back to paper this evening, which is a little difficult, but you will not see that. However, if you want to check out the website at www.wcsoh.org, you can do that, and the agenda is there. You click on the district link, then select Board of Education, and then select Board Docs, and you will get to this evening's meeting. There will be two opportunities to address the board tonight, the first being agenda item 3.01. The first set of public comments is relative to agenda items 4.01. Please state the agenda item you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity for public comment tonight is agenda item 5.01. There is a sign-up sheet located on the table in the back of the room. If you choose to speak, you will have 5 minutes to address the board. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Griffith to please call the roll.
Mr. Bird?
Here.
Ms. Cotter?
Here.
Mrs. Davidson? Mr. Velardo? Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first portion of public comments is item number 3.01 on the agenda tonight, but no one has signed up to speak for the first portion of public comments. I would like to ask the board to consider a motion at this point in time to add agenda item 3.5, a superintendent's report, after public comment and before item number 4. Could I have a motion to add agenda item 3.5, superintendent report?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. With a motion and a second, John, I think I'll set the stage a little bit and then turn it over to you.
Sounds good.
Does that work? Okay. We'll do that on paper. Our district's support groups and parent organizations do great things for the children and young people and for the schools of our district. We are fortunate to have dozens of such groups here, and all of them do good work, good things on behalf of kids. The groups operate with significant autonomy. However, they are recognized by and sponsored by the Board of Education and are required to follow board policy. There are a couple of specific policies that we have that do relate to our support groups and to our parent organizations, 9210 and 9211. But there are other policies within our array of policies, bylaws, procedures that also would apply to parent groups and support organizations. A few weeks ago, concerns were brought to Parent Council, which is Westerville's umbrella advisory group for all of our parent support groups, our booster groups, our PTAs, our PTOs, our PTSAs. Concerns were brought regarding Walnut Springs Parent-Teacher Student Association, particularly as regards to the execution of the bylaws of that particular group. From Parent Council and the leadership of Parent Council, those concerns were brought to the superintendent and the board. And we are meeting tonight so that we can together and in public get a good understanding of where we stand, where the group stands, and what the options may be. We felt that it was important to do this tonight because Walnut Springs Parent-Teacher Student Association has a meeting scheduled for tomorrow evening, and we thought, given that so many people are aware that the concerns have been brought to the board and the superintendent, we thought you needed to know what our thinking is after we hear from the superintendent tonight. That's the background, that's why we're here tonight, and that's the context for the discussion that will now follow. So I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent now for information on what he has learned, because he has spent hours upon hours upon hours talking to people about this particular set of issues, working with the Ohio PTA, working with members from Walnut Springs, and he has information to share with all of us. John?
Thank you, Dr. Nestor Baker and members of the board. I have spent considerable time reviewing this situation and talking to a number of individuals, and I want to echo Dr. Nestor Baker's comments about our desire to continue supporting our parent organizations. They are a backbone of a lot of work we do. We all know that. And so these kind of situations are ones in which I think we want to be thoughtful about our approach. So I have talked to a number of individuals regarding concerns that have come forward. Most of them relate to the bylaws in general. I would say the second set would relate more to two-way communication problems in terms of how people are communicating with each other. I have talked to the current president of the Walnut Springs PTSA. I've talked to the current vice president. The treasurer has been unavailable. I've talked to Ms. Yanni, the school principal. I have talked to leadership from Ohio PTA, and just to understand what's going on and who's doing what. It's important to recognize that whereas we have a relationship, as you alluded to, under our board policy that involves sponsorship, there's a stronger relationship between each chapter and Ohio PTA as well. So their interest in what's happening there is a close second to probably ours as an organization. But that said, they are looking into it. So we looked at those issues, talked to Ohio PTA, know what's in front of us, and I would say that at this point, our best resolution would be to wait for additional information from Ohio PTA about both the election process and their review of the bylaws and their opportunity to talk to all of the elected officials that represent the 16, 17 elected officers of Walnut Springs PTA before our board decides to leverage its influence through the board policy, keeping in mind that we're not aware of any point a board using their authority under that policy to end sponsorship. And I think making part of what I think needs to happen is everybody be fully aware of what does that mean for the board to end sponsorship. It does not mean that chapter of the PTA is dissolved. We don't have the authority to dissolve that chapter. That authority is rested in that chapter's own bylaws and whatever bylaws represented by Ohio PTA, and I haven't talked to them about under what conditions they might take action. So I think our best bet is a little bit of wait and see to see what Ohio PTA sees and experiences and what information they get, and then our board can, if needed, can make a much more informed decision about the relationship. Sponsorship, removing sponsorship simply means restrictions on using district name, school name, and limited access, less access to school opportunities than you have as a parent organization today. It leaves open to question the chapter status. It leaves open to question financial circumstances that are really outside, as I understand, outside of scope of our decision. So I think allowing the folks that are invested in this at that school level to use the bylaws and use the opportunities in front of them to make the best decision for Walnut Springs Middle School PTSA is your best course of action at this time. Happy to answer any questions or share any more information.
Thank you, John. Comments, questions, ideas, concerns that you would like to raise? Jerry and Richard?
Do you have any idea of when the Ohio PTSA might have more information for us?
We'll have, they'll have the election results tomorrow night. It's not so much the results that are of interest as the management of the process and whether or not the election, regardless of the outcomes, is managed in a way that everyone's voice is able to be heard and experienced. So I think that's an important piece. The other piece would be an opportunity to make sure that they've been able to talk to all three elected, opportunity to talk to all three of the elected officers. And at this point, they haven't been able to do that. One of them has been out of the country. I haven't heard back on that one. I'm awaiting a response through an email, but I did ask Ohio PTA today about their timelines, hopefully sooner than later. And I know that's what they want to do, is get this thing resolved and move on, help with the election process and support the PTSA and get it moving in the right direction. So the answer to the question is I don't have a specific timeline at this point, but I'm pressing for one as soon as possible.
Other questions?
I would think that where we stand right now, we're already stepping forward on precedents here. We've called a special meeting, a special session, for a discussion that we've not had in the district before, to our knowledge, from a historical standpoint, as it relates to sponsorship of an organization within the school district. Obviously, this is a very serious matter. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this for the first time. I think it's also, Dr. Kellogg, I really appreciate the fact that we're taking into consideration the reality that when we as a board exercise an option, the finality of that option impacts people that may not have any issues or skin in the game relative to the challenges that are going on, right? And in my mind, collateral impact is unacceptable. Going back to what Dr. Nestor Baker said, our parents invest their time in these organizations. They work through these organizations and produce tremendous value to our district in the form of volunteer hours, in the form of funds. They enrich the student experience, and I would be concerned that taking the options that are available to us would have an impact on people that it should not have that impact on. So I think we need to be very prudent in exercising our authority in this matter.
Thank you, Richard.
I agree. I think that we don't really have enough information, as much as I'd like to pursue this type of action at this time. I would like to know more about what the Ohio PTSA learns, and also what the potential consequences might be if we took this kind of action. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. The issues that have been brought to us need resolved, and we do take them very, very seriously. As Richard was saying, this is fairly unprecedented for us. We have not chosen to enact our right to remove sponsorship. Instead, we have tried in the past, when issues have arisen, to work with the building leadership, to work with officers, to work with members, to work with staff, to find a smoother pathway so that the issues can be resolved rather than worsened. And as the weeks have gone by and things have become more contentious and there has been, a fair amount of divisiveness within the building, our concern has been that we do not step in and make it harder for Walnut Springs to chart its pathway forward. That wouldn't mean that we wash our hands of the PTSA in any way. The fact that the organization is a member of the Westerville City Schools family of organizations requires that we keep a very close eye on where things go. With the Ohio PTA's involvement, that offers an excellent opportunity for that external body to work very closely to ascertain where the bylaws are and are not, what they should and should not be, to work very closely with officers, both current and newly elected, if those differ, so that new communication strategies, new approaches will be put into play going forward. It also gives the opportunity for that information to come to us. For me to vote to suspend sponsorship of one of our organizations, I would require a significant weight of evidence that leads me to believe that placing the strictures on the group that removal of sponsorship would place is the right path. As Dr. Kellogg was saying, if we are to vote to end sponsorship, the name goes, the access becomes much more limited. You find it more difficult to go forward. And going forward is what we want to have happen. Walnut Springs has a proud tradition, has a lot of wonderful families, great staff, important things that have happened there and are going to keep happening there. I don't want to step on you while those things happen. But I also won't ignore what's happening. Any other comments? Dr. Kellogg, anything you want to add to your report?
I'll continue to work with Ohio PTA and continue to push for. I don't want to push so hard that they don't get an opportunity to do what they need to do. But I'll continue to do that and keeping the board apprised of where we are with that as we move along. And certainly, in the review of what's been going on is still an open book. So if additional information comes that's helpful to me, I'll review that as well.
Okay, and as you heard Dr. Kellogg say, we are going to be kept apprised of what the Ohio PTA says. This isn't over. There's a lot of work to be done. And the main place that work will be happening is within the Walnut Springs family. Any other comments or questions before we move on in the agenda? This was the superintendent's report. Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? You're right. Let's have a motion or a roll call on that. Thanks, Bart.
Sure.
See, you give me paper and I just fall apart.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker.
Yes. Thank you, Bart. Now, item number 4, which is listed as standing business, 4.01, is a motion to consider action related to Board Policy 9210, parent organizations, and the Walnut Springs Middle School PTSA. Is there a motion to take action, to consider action this evening? You don't have to. It's up to you. If you have a motion that you would like to be considered, offer it. If not, we will move on. We do not have a motion, which means we will not be taking action tonight. Stay tuned for what the Ohio PTA brings us. The second portion of public comment is item number 5, and we have one person who is signed up to speak. As I mentioned earlier, you have 5 minutes to speak, and Mr. Hershiser keeps track of time, and we'll be keeping track of time. Ordinarily, you would see it tick down in front of you on the screen, but we're old school tonight. With that, there is one person signed up, and it is L.C. Hunt. Just come to the podium, yes. That works tonight.
I just have an overall question. So as a concerned parent, there are many of us here tonight that are not involved in this at all, but love what this organization is supposed to stand for. So as parents, what are we supposed to do, or what can we do at this point to help?
That is a very good question. All right, you didn't use up all your time, but we will continue on and use up more of time.
So,
No, it's fine.
Dr. Nestor, if I can.
Yes.
You just did it. The way that the school board operates is as a forum, and the school board does not have power or authority as individuals. So many of our families at Walnut Springs have come to us individually. So as individual school board members, we have no authority. It's actually written into law that way. We are only empowered when we are called to session, which comments, concerns, and information shared with the district cause to happen, and that's why we called a special session, and create an opportunity for us to discuss the matter, as well as learn more from you. The challenge that all parents face in all groups that fall under the Parent Council umbrella is that each of them is organized and structured based upon their own rules and bylaws. And in the cases of the PTSAs, the PTAs, and those types of organizations, as Dr. Kellogg said, they're further structured under a more direct relationship with organizing bodies that are at the state level. So there's two channels of remedy. The first is the one that you've taken. And just standing at the podium, you will be on record as being the person that stood at the podium to ask a question about a discussion relative to sponsorship that's never happened in the district before, right? So you're doing it, and it's truly appreciated because it's not easy. And I'm sure all of the family members that are impacted in the current situation aren't here this evening, right? You've made time, you've stepped forward, you've come to share with us, you've come to hear. So you're doing exactly what you need to do. And there will be a resolution. I think that's the most important point relative to tonight's discussion. There will be a resolution. The most important thing for us is that it's a resolution that is right, fair, and appropriate, not for the issue, but for our families, for our PTSA, for our children, and for our school.
Jerry, would you like to add to that? I made a short list. As parents, what can we do? And Richard gave you some excellent advice as regards this particular level of operation. I'm asking you to be part of the PTSA going forward and to look at it as going forward, okay? It's going to take a lot of effort on your parts to continually look forward and not back, to focus on the positives, to focus on the work that you're doing together. That matters hugely. You're going to need to help develop new communication structures, and I would suggest you also will want to work with the Ohio PTA to implement the recommendations that they bring to you. They will be bringing some particular assistance to you as a chapter of the PTA, which is one of the important reasons to be part of PTA. It's because the Ohio PTA has significant resources to assist when there are problems within a chapter. So work with them, work with each other, don't shy away from this. In other words, I would sum it up by saying, now it's time to lean in. You need to lean in for the PTSA. And we're going to be here too, and we're going to be looking closely, and whatever we can do, individually and collectively, we will do to help you lean in. I view this as an opportunity to turn this organization into what you know it can be and what you want it to be, and to build on the great legacy that you have at Walnut Springs. And I view our role as to do what we can do to make that happen. So there's a lot you can do. All right, any other board comments this evening? Section 601 on the agenda.
Yeah, just,
Go ahead.
yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming out. I would have, I'm going to be frank, I would have been sorely disappointed if one person had shown up, because I'm still decompressing from the long weekend myself. Thank you for coming. This has a tremendous amount of impact on us, individually and collectively, to see you all here. So thank you for taking the time.
I don't think any of us can say it better than that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the ways in which you've brought this information to us, and thank you for your assistance in moving forward. 7.01 is future meetings of the board. And the board will meet in regular session on Monday, June the 12th and June the 26th, 2017, at 6 o'clock at the Early Learning Center, 936 East Wind Drive. And with that, I'd like to call for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second?
Thank you. Bart, would you call the roll?
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Byrd,
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker.
Yes, we are adjourned.